was the 10th of January, 2013. This is what the sea looked like. And this is what the sky looked like. I was sailing in something like 3-meter tall waves. And I was standing on the deck, staring at a mast that was almost as tall as a 7-story building. I was in the middle of the Pacific, an ocean so large that if you were to pluck out all the landmass of the planet, and if you were to arrange it in the center of this ocean, you would still have water left around you. And I was all alone. And this is what I was up to. You may think it's funny. You may think I'm a brave man. But all I wanted to be was a free man. And I've always considered, ever since I have known myself, that a man who does not love solitude can never be in love with his own freedom. And that possibly explains what I was doing that day on top of the mast. I joined the Navy because I liked the idea of being at sea. And then I became a pilot because I liked the idea of looking down on people. When I became the skipper of a boat, I liked the idea because I could be at sea and I could still look down on people. One day the Navy asked me if I wanted to be at sea all alone for 6 months, and I immediately said a yes. But when I checked, I realized that they wanted me to perform a solo, nonstop, unassisted circumnavigation of the planet, right? When I checked further, I realized that as on that date, less than 70 people in this entire planet had achieved something similar. I was to start my voyage from Mumbai, sail around the planet, a distance of 23,000 nautical miles in 6 months, south of the 3 great capes, Cape Leuven, Cape Horn, Cape of Good Hope, and come back to the point where I started. I was to sail through regions of the planet that are known to be without rules, without laws, without gods, and without even common sense. And this voyage And in this voyage across the oceans, I was to be alone. I couldn't take anybody's help, and I could not stop anywhere. I was to sail in a boat that was just 17 meters long and just 5 meters wide. And trust me, I required all the qualities of every TED speaker that were present on this stage today. I had to be a doctor. I had to be an engineer. I had to be an electrician. I had to be a cook. I had to be a photographer. I had to be a navigator. I had to be a communicator. And I had to be just about everything that the boat demanded out of me. I left on this long voyage on the 1st of November 2012. I soon crossed the equator. I sailed across the trade winds. I crossed the Tropic of Capricorn. And on the 5th of December, the first of the extratropical cyclones hit me. This is what the sea looked like. It was neither blue, nor gray, nor black, but it was white, because the tops of the waves were being chopped off by the wind, and it was being spread across the ocean as white foam. In the middle of all this, my mentor, Admiral Avati, he sends me a message. He says, bash on regardless, bash on regardless. And that really confused me. I'll tell you why. Because I wasn't sure if he was asking me to bash the seas, or if he was asking the seas to bash me up. This bashing continued as we sailed along the great Australian Bight. And somewhere at this point, I celebrated Christmas. 55 days alone at sea, I was totally enjoying my freedom. I could never have been more happier. It was a great day to be out at sea. I opened the last can of soda, said cheers to myself. But soon, the next of the systems hit me. And this is what it looked like. I had something like 30 knot winds and 5-meter waves again. This system continued to build in intensity until it was the 31st of December 2012. And this is what the sea looked like that day. Six hours after welcoming the 1st of January 2013, I crossed the international date line, because of which I had to shift the clock back. And I went back into the 31st of December 2012. I have the distinction of being the first Indian to welcome 2013 and the last Indian to see of 2012. From here, I was stepping across into the vastness of the Pacific. It's an ocean so large that if you're standing in the middle of this ocean, land ahead of you would be 4,000 kilometers. Land behind you would be 4,000 kilometers. And the nearest land is 4,000 meters right below you. Meaningless figure. It is at this point that I need to tell you that if you play a game of cricket, if you play a game of football, you don't want to play, something happens to you, you can always leave and walk away. But in the middle of the Pacific, if something were to happen to me, it would take at least 15 days for any sort of meaningful rescue to come to my help. In the Pacific, I left the comforts of the roaring 40s. I sailed into the furious 50s, and I almost touched the screaming 60s. After spending 86 days at sea, on the 26th of January 2013, our Republic Day, I sighted land at Cape Horn. And the next day, after spending 87 days at sea, I saw the sight, a mast, another sailing vessel at sea. I was very curious. I picked up my VHF set, made a quick call. I was very curious to talk to whoever was on the other side. Imagine this, 87 days at sea, I've not spoken to anybody, right? And when I call up this particular boat that's on my horizon, the reply that I get is in the voice of a woman. I spoke to her for 10 minutes, and then I was on my way back to India because she did not indulge my desire of wanting to see her face. 10 minutes later, after having spoken to her, I was on my way back to India. But that's when I realized, 3 months of silence, I had forgotten what it was like to tell a lie. More importantly, I'd forgotten what it was like for someone to have an opinion of you. And more importantly, I'd forgotten what it was like to have an opinion of yourself. I continued sailing, crossed the Atlantic, rounded the Cape of Good Hope. I dodged the cyclone of Madagascar, and I was passing Mauritius. That's when I saw a ship for the first time since I rounded Cape Horn. I had a very interesting conversation here. The watchkeeper was curious to know where I was headed. He asked me, "You seem to be heading north. What's your destination?" I said, "Mumbai." He said, "Great. Where did you start from?" I said, "Mumbai." He said, "No, that's your destination. Where did you start from?" I said, "Mumbai." He said, "If you started from Mumbai, where are you headed to?" I said, "Mumbai." At the end of it, he was so confused that I had to tell him the story that I had started on this long voyage 120 days ago. I had not seen anybody, I had not spoken to anybody. I had seen 70 knot winds and 10-meter waves, etc., etc. At the end of this conversation, he says, "You know, even I would have attempted something like this had I been single." From here, it was a very short stretch back to India. There was nothing much left for me to do. In a few days' time, within a fortnight, I would be the first Indian and the second Asian to have circumnavigated the planet, etc., etc. But the sea was still not done with me. A major diesel leak caused a lot of water contamination. When I checked, I was left with something like 15 liters of water to finish my voyage, and it would take at least 15 days of sailing to get back to India. You know how much is 15 liters of water? It's the amount of water that you use when you flush your toilets just once. I was left with 15 liters of water. I started conserving. I was using seawater for everything, including soaking dal, brushing my teeth, and cleaning rice. I was so successful in my attempt to conserve water that I was using less than 1 liter per day. And on the 31st of March, when I was back in Mumbai, I still had 2 liters of water left. I was back in Mumbai on the 31st of March 2013. It was Easter Sunday, and I felt as if I'd resurrected myself. I was soon taken to a concrete building. I had a flat bed to sleep on. And the next day morning, I went out for a walk. And I saw these huge billboards, which were still advertising comfortable sofas, faster cars, cooler air conditioners, and whatnot. And that day, I realized the true nature of human slavery. 6 days later, 6 days later, I was accorded a ceremonial reception by the President of India. We all had a chance to speak, but when it was my turn to speak, I said, all that I want to ask today is, sir, can I go for one more round, please? Thank you.